Hi everyone, welcome back to Shane Hunts. Today we're going to be reviewing a piece of equipment that's been in my whitetail setup for about the last year. I bought it last summer, spent the entire 2024 whitetail season wearing this piece of equipment, then into late season cow elk, and I want to tell you what I think about it. This is the Sitka Incinerator Aerolite. Let's talk about the features. So as the name might suggest, in a Sitka Incinerator Aerolite, you might guess that this thing is probably pretty light and it's probably pretty warm. This system right here is marketed by Sitka as one of their 2 premium whitetail setups for the late season. The coldest of the cold weather, the Sitka Fanatic is more oriented towards drier climates where you can expect that it's only going to be super freezing cold, but you're not going to get any level of some sort of precipitation. The Sitka Incinerator Aerolite is designed more for that kind of climate. There's like an outer felt kind of feeling, and it is designed to be fully waterproof. It has a hood up here, it has a million pockets, then there's also a kangaroo pouch on the inside right in here that you can kind of tuck things in. It's secured by like an elastic cinch around you. It's designed to also hold like your grunt tube. So your grunt tube goes right into this pocket right here. You have the rangefinder that can sit right here in this pocket beside it. And then right up here at the very top, there's like a little ribbon that your lanyards can attach to. You never have to worry about it falling away or where it is. It's always readily available and ready to use right there in your pockets. In the bibs totally zip all the way from the bottom of the ankle all the way up till the bibs go to right about here. One of the cool features about this Sitka Incinerator Aerolite was underneath this hood, there is a safety pass-through it's designed particularly for people that are going to be sitting up in tree stands in intense weather. There's a safety pass-through for your tree stand harness, which kind of comes right out the back. It's totally waterproof. It's a really cool feature, which I thought was awesome. And of course, this is fully Gore-Tex. I encourage you to go check out what Gore-Tex is. I'll put a little simple description of it right here just for you to have a quick read, but super cool feature that is totally encompassed within the entire Sitka Incinerator Aerolite system. The weight of this jacket itself equals out to be about the weight of what 3.5 cans of beer might weigh. These bibs equal out to be about 4 cans of beer. You're looking at 7.5 cans of beer for everything that you're wearing for incredibly harsh conditions in whitetail season. That's pretty light. Would you mind if I told you about the reasons that I bought this? If it is whitetail season, I am in the woods. The Alberta whitetail season has been and continues to be super unpredictable in terms of the weather. So I wanted to get something that was going to be as good as possible for all of those elements so that I didn't have to spend a whole bunch of money on different whitetail setups. I don't do a whole bunch of still hunting. Usually I'm walking into a stand and I'm sitting that stand for as long as I possibly can. And so this setup is really cool for that because it's not necessarily made for trekking around. It's made for going to a spot, sitting in that spot, and hopefully staying as warm as you possibly can in that spot for as long as you can. The price of the Sitka Incinerator Aerolite is ridiculous. I said it. It is totally expensive. Your bibs and your jacket are going to cost the same. Your jacket is 966 Canadian dollars. And your bibs are also 966 Canadian dollars. In Canada right now is $1,932 for this entire setup for your jacket and your bibs. That is so much money. If you're going to buy this, I would suggest that you do have an opportunity to try on somewhere, whether it's at your local shop or whatever, before you buy it, just because the sizes ran a little bit differently. Usually I'm a large in both the jacket and the bibs. I'm 6'2", right around 200 pounds, and the jacket I ended up having to get a large, and then for the pants I ended up getting a medium. One thing that I will say, despite that, for me, it's not uncommon to put on sometimes 15 or even 20 pounds over the course of a whitetail season. And even still, having this jacket and bib set up, it fits me just as well now as it did in the season, with opportunities for layering and stuff underneath as well. So have an opportunity, go try it on if you can. Let's talk about the pros. You can definitely tell that the person that created this, or at least the people who created this, have either solicited the advice of whitetail hunters or are hardcore whitetail hunters themselves, because they thought of everything. The amount of pockets and how these pockets are thoughtfully placed in this setup unreal. You never had a pocket left to be desired. You always had it where you needed it to be. This thing looks amazing. Hard to argue that. At least my own personal opinion is that this looks unreal. This thing holds like a really athletic fit. There's not a whole bunch of bulk, so if you're climbing trees in the tree stand, to get to your tree stand, if you're climbing over branches to get to your stand, if you're like, you can certainly be super mobile in this. All the amount of fabric that you have on here is useful, and there's nothing extra there, and so that piece is really cool. These things are so awesome. I think that this is such a cool idea. These little cinches that keep in this grunt tube, and even this one over here doesn't have a cinch for the rangefinder, but these two pockets are perfectly oriented towards, like, if you're a bow hunter, you always have things quick and easily accessible. And this little cinch pad here on the end is super cool to just kind of tuck it in so it's not falling out and bouncing all over the place. These pockets right here, they have these snaps in them, and these snaps are designed to be so quiet. These snaps, I think, are similar to the snaps that are in the jacket pockets. They're super quiet, but they're really secure. The waterproofness of this, throughout the 2024 season, I was in some pretty brutal elements. I can honestly say that this thing kept me dry the entire time from here down. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but I remember there was this one time that I was actually, it was earlier in November, it had poured rain earlier that morning. I found this little setup of logs that I was gonna sit on that was just perfect, like a perfect setup. And I ended up sitting on this big log, no bark on this log at all, just like saturated, totally wet. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get soaked, but I think that this is like the best place that I should be sitting. So I sat there. And I was there for probably 3 hours, and I got up and I literally just went like this, and the water just came right off. It was the coolest thing. This thing cuts wind like you've never seen. I was sitting on like probably 40km/h winds, I think was probably the max that what it was hitting, which is substantial. And even still, I was warm. Right down here at the bottom from like the knee down, there is not as much insulation as there is throughout the entire rest of the bibs. When you're putting your leg into your boot and you don't have that extra material that's kicking around in there, it is super comfortable. It was kind of a cool idea that I think is another great job by Sitka. I think that these pockets, both on the jacket and inside the bibs, there are little fleece linings that these jacket pockets have. On the inside of the jacket pocket, it's like right up against your belly, and then on the outside, it is like a fleece lining. No word of a lie, you can be out in the bush and have your hands in your pockets without gloves on, and it feels almost as though you have a pair of gloves on. I wouldn't recommend doing it for a long period of time, but if you need to switch out batteries on your camera or you need to text or something really quickly, this is such a cool idea that they've put in, and so I found that these worked incredibly well and I really enjoyed them. Let's talk about the cons. Similar to what I said earlier, where the bottom of the bibs, there's no insulation down here at the bottom. I used these when it was like 0 degrees. I went out with just long johns underneath, and I had hiking boots on. When I was walking around for the first time in my life, my shins were getting cold. If you are going to go out with these, I would suggest having a pair of pants on underneath that kind of over top of your boots, just to keep that draft out, because that was definitely a reality for me. On the topic of bibs, so there's 2 suspenders that hold these pants up. There's 2 little clips on the back. I don't know if it was just a faulty one that I had of my own, or if it was kind of universal throughout the entire Incinerator Aerolite line, but I had a lot of difficulty trying to clip one of those up when I did have my pants on. Like, I had to remove the suspender, clip it, and then put my suspender back on, which was just something that I noticed. Talking about the jacket, some of the cons about the jacket is that, as I said before, this Sitka Incinerator Aerolite is designed to be part of a system. If you're wearing this jacket as a standalone without that other stuff, and you zip all the way up, there's like probably, I don't even know, like maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches of space that sits right outside of your neck, and as soon as it starts pouring rain, you're trying to tuck yourself like this, like a little turtle, trying to cover all of the outside, those little gaps there, because it certainly will let some stuff in. And so I was able to find some solutions by putting in like a buff or something like that, just to kind of keep the moisture and the wetness away. But even still, it wasn't fantastic. I think as well, this piece is designed to be waterproof, right? And you have a waterproof shell. There's only so much you can do to make it like quiet enough. And so I think that Sitka did a really good job in where they put this like brushed fabric over top of the waterproof layer. But I saw a comment which I felt was very, very accurate on a Reddit thread where if you brush your arm up against a tree, it would be similar to the sound of like undoing a piece of Velcro. And I think that is spot on. I personally did that. I had a giant buck out in front of me. He was 80 yards away and it was still as anything. There was hardly any wind or anything. This buck came out at 80 yards. I went to put my rifle up like this and I brushed my forearm against the tree that was in front of me, and that buck pinned me from 80 yards away. One last thing, to be a hater and a super critical person on this Sitka Incinerator Aerolite, the hood. I love this hood about as much as my girlfriend loves that I have a full-size mannequin in my house. That's not very much. So on this hood, the hood comes down, like it comes over top of your head and it kind of cuts back towards your ears. And the idea, of course, is the whitetail setup. You need your ears when you're whitetail hunting. They're super, super important. But also, the Sitka Incinerator Aerolite system is designed for the harshest conditions, full of rain and sleet and everything like that. And so the purpose that I bought this was to protect from the elements. And when you're taking away that to, like, I understand why you did it, but I just don't think that it was necessarily, I don't think it translated. And that's my own personal opinion. This hood also, it has a little like elastic cinch on the inside of the hood. And this, I don't know where it went wrong. And this hood, you put it up over top of your hat, and anytime you move like this, your hat just gets pulled, and it gets pulled in any direction. And it got to the point where I actually stopped wearing the hood altogether. Even if it was pouring rain, if it was sleet, snow, anything like that, like I could not jeopardize my ability to look around or by having my hat constantly pulled off. It was driving me crazy, and personally I just, it didn't quite hit what I was hoping that it would. Final thoughts. I've seen a lot of reviews on YouTube and even some like Reddit threads of people that are like, and I've heard of dealers saying this too, that they're like, this piece is too hot. Like, you're gonna go out into the whitetail woods and you're gonna have to take your jacket off in -30 because it's so hot. Inevitably, if you're sitting in a tree in -30, you're immobile and you're sitting for 12 hours, at some point you will probably get cold. I think that Sitka did a really awesome job at prolonging that time as long as they possibly could. But to say that you can go out with this piece of equipment and sit for 12 hours in -30 and you could be totally good, I think that falls short of what reality actually is. Overall, I would recommend you buy this. Like, if you had an opportunity and you can get it on sale, please buy it on sale. If you can buy it for a good price, I think that it is worth it at the end of the day. If I was to go through the checkout again today, I probably would have bought it from a Canadian retailer, so I didn't have to buy all the duty and everything else that comes along with it. It's been designed by someone who has been out in the whitetail woods. They know exactly what it is that you need when you're out there. I think everything has been thought of almost to a fault. For Sitka, if there was an opportunity to make things a little bit better, I think the price needs to come down. The hood is something that I hope that Sitka kind of looks at, and if the material can somehow get a little bit quieter, I think that with those three things, if you bring those down, you have the all-time best piece of whitetail equipment ever that you're looking at right here, and would recommend it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for watching the Sitka Incinerator Aerolite review on my channel. Please let me know if you have different thoughts. If you disagree with me, put it into the comments below. I really want to hear from you guys what your experience have been for people that might be looking at buying it for themselves. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I am looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. Bye, guys.